What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's had a great weekend so far, and a happy Labor Day to everybody. I hope all of you have survived this heat wave, which is starting to die down, hopefully, but it is just awful. This heat is horrible. But what wasn't horrible was House of Dragons Episode 3, which aired this last weekend. So, this isn't going to be a spoiler episode, so before we get started, guys, don't forget to give us a like, ring the bell so you can get the notifications, and don't be afraid to subscribe because we do appreciate it. Helps us, helps you guys. So thank you. So let's get started. So this one was another big time jump, which I don't know how I'm feeling about it at this point. With the time jump stuff, I feel like that could be an issue for some people. Like how the first one was like 6 months. This one's been like 2 years. So I feel like next it's gonna be like 30 years. No, I'm just kidding. But other than that, this is basically like...
there is going to be a major time jump coming up in either next week or the week after. Because we do know that the two main girls, Allison and Rhaenyra, their actresses changed, for older actresses. So, yeah, there is going to be another time jump for sure coming up.
Yeah, they get replaced by, I think her name is Olivia Cook. She was from Ready Player One. That's the only real... She's been in some other stuff, but that's the one movie I, always think of her in. And then I forgot the other girl's name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think about it. But yeah, there is gonna be another time jump. I was just thinking today watching it. I was like, oh man, I feel like we're skipping a lot. But at the same time, it still flows really well, like plot wise. It's kind of it's explaining the time jumps pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, it's like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss these two actresses when we do eventually do the time jump, just because they've been so great in these last 3 episodes. But I also don't mind the time jump just because it feels like this episode was a little bit redundant in a lot of the plot beats that it had. And I feel like, yeah, they would need to skip time forward so it's not the same conversations happening over and over again, which I felt like was the case for the first half of this episode, where it's like a lot of the questionings of succession, is Rhaenyra going to be queen? Is it going to be Aegon? And a lot of conversations with Viserys, where he's a lot of people are talking to him, telling him what to do, and he's just like, no, leave me alone. So it's like, this episode felt a little bit redundant to me, I'm not going to lie.
I could see that argument. I respectfully, I disagree. I think it kind of furthered those conversations, those little debates and stuff. And I think by the end of it, it kind of solidified, how do I put it? I guess Viserys, Rhaenyra, and Daemon's points. It kind of, how do I describe it? But basically, it just kind of showed, okay, this is who they are. This is where it's gonna go from there, kind of thing. Where the struggle with Viserys and Rhaenyra is still, it sucks for them. Where Rhaenyra still doesn't feel like heir to the throne. She's second fiddle because Viserys and Alicent had Aegon, and he's 2 years old, which I was like, oh man, that happened quick, kind of. And then she's already pregnant with another kid, and again, I feel for Rhaenyra this episode, where she's just, her friend is kind of like her mom now, which is really weird, and has her brother, and yeah, she's starting to feel what everybody else is thinking, that yeah, it's gonna be time where Aegon is gonna be named successor, and I feel like she has that feeling of what was this whole for? This is just nothing. It's all a waste to her in a way. And what was I going for? I really like the whole hunt for the stag or something, that big hunt for Aegon's birthday. I thought that was a really great job on set design, and really, I guess, introducing more characters. That one guy from Tenet and other handful of movies, he played that Lannister king. I forgot the guy's name at the top of my head, but I thought he was great. Him and his twin brother. He played a twin brother.
Yeah. So the actor is Jefferson Hawley, and he does play. What's his name? Jason Lannister, and then the other brother, the twin. I forget. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head too. But yeah, he plays twins, which I didn't notice until when they said. I was like, hey, his hair's a little bit different, right? And they were like, oh, you're my twin brother's like, oh, okay, I see, I get it now. I didn't know Lannisters had twins.
Yeah, when Jamie and what's her face were twins. If we Jaime and oh my god, what was her
That's true.
name?
Jaime and Cersei were twins. You're right.
Cersei, thank you. Yeah. So they're just. I wonder if they're doing the same thing this time. Either way, they love each other.
Instead of brother sister, it's brother brother.
In a way, they're loving themselves, so it's almost like a self-loving relationship. Like Freddy and Freddy on What We Do in the Shadows. But that's neither here nor there.
Or Loki and Loki.
Yes, Loki and Sylvie. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I said, I really like the forward progression and kind of like poking at the bear essentially with the whole Rhaenyra needing to finally get married and stuff. And Viserys is right, like he's coming from a spot of not only a father but also like, listen, you got to do your job. Take it or leave it. This is why we're the royal family. We do have to marry. We do have to have kids and stuff. And I know she's kind of worried, like, well, so I'm just gonna be second. I'm gonna just marry. You're gonna marry me off to someone, and that's how you'll get rid of me. And it's just sad, the power struggle with this family. Just because none of them really mean ill towards each other, and that's what I think I really like about the Targaryens in this show is that Daemon, Viserys, and Rhaenyra, they're very honorable people. Like throughout this episode, we see Viserys like. We see his weakness growing, especially the whole, like, by the end of the hunt, they think they have the white, I think it's called the white hart, but basically like a white stag or something, the great white buffalo, not really. But in the end, it was just, nope, it's just it's a big stag, but it's not the white hart. And his face was so just heartbreaking, like, wow, this is what they got for me. It just kind of shows, like, you are the king, but you're not going to be king for long. They're all kind of waiting for you to die off or make your decision or something like that. So I thought that was very disrespectful, but I did like.
I saw it as a little bit more like symbolic. I mean, there's been a lot of symbolism in these last 2 episodes about Viserys not being sort of right for the throne, him getting pricked by it, and we see in this episode he's lost a couple of fingers because of the infection, I'm assuming. So there's a little bit of that, and then also, with the 2 different hearts that we do see in this episode, the brown one that they catch for him, and then the white one that shows up for Rhaenyra, where it's like, it seems like a lot of the signs in this world are pointing to her being, the rightful heir to the throne. So it's like, okay, everything's sort of like pointing in that direction already. That's why I just kind of feel like it's a little bit redundant. Like, it's like, we already know these things. People already said these things. It's just like, it feels like we're just being told these same things in different ways now at this point. It's like, how many more ways can you say a certain sentence without it being like the same thing, So it's like, okay, like I get it. Like, it's going to be her, and there's going to be like a power struggle at some certain point. Like, we know she's right for it because in the last couple episodes she's shown that she's capable of doing this, and she's also like not wanting to fall in line with a lot of the traditional values of like what has been up to this point in Westeros. So it's like, I guess I was just wanting a little bit more progression for the characters, but I get why they had to have this episode because of the way the last one ended, with Viserys marrying Alicent. So they needed to, I guess, address that in this episode so that way we can move forward.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I didn't mind. I did like the symbolism of that. That's essentially what I was like trying to put into words. Is like there are a lot of like things going on that's kind of saying each one is right in their own way. Like the White Hart with her, and I do appreciate. I keep forgetting that one guy's name, but he's provided some really like strong arguments for the king. It's the guy with the beard and long hair. I keep forgetting what lord he is, but he's like, sir, I did offer you a few years ago that you should have married Lord. Oh my God, what's it? Oh,
Corlys's daughter, Lena, right?
Yeah, he should have married Corlys.
His name was Lord Strong, Lionel Strong, I think it was his name. He's like his master of, was it coin? I forgot what it was, but yeah, he's the one that did tell him previous episode, like, you got to make the right decision and marry this 12-year-old girl because that's the right decision in this world.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a gross decision. I'm glad that like
horrible,
a lot of people like just like the audience really didn't like that whole scene either. I'm like, well, I would hope you wouldn't like it, But in the end, they were right. He kind of should have to avoid any like sort of issues with it. And even I love the little exchange at the end of this where Rhaenyra and him finally have a sit down, and she says, "Then you should have married her, not my friend." Given it's out of like I didn't want you to marry my friend, but at the same time she's like, "No, you should have married Corlys's family. That would have solved a lot of problems." But in the end, like I said, that's why I love the Targaryens, because they do love each other. They want the best for each other. Even Daemon, who's a major asshole, fighting the battle of the stepping stones with the crab feeder, he does love his brother. He didn't want to get into this whole dispute with him, but he kind of feels like he needs to prove himself. Like I should be king and I should be there with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these characters at this certain point in the story, they're having to choose between what they want personally and what they should be doing for the throne, essentially, like for duty. Like it's one of those things where it's like they say, you don't want to work with your family, because then you can't separate work and family. So when those intermingle, things get a little bit, twisted and shady. And it's like, okay, like how do you separate your love for your family member versus like what they're expected to do in their role for the kingdom, So we're seeing that come to head a lot in this episode, and I did like that conversation with Viserys and Rhaenyra, where he's telling her like, "Hey, you gotta like do your princess duties," and she comes back at him like, "You didn't marry for duty. Like if you would have married for duty, then you would have married Elena." And that's when he has a little heart to heart with her. It's like, hey, like sometimes you do gotta choose yourself. So he kind of gives her like permission to not be betrothed to anyone, but sort of like seek out a love for herself. So I thought, yeah, that conversation between the two of them was very nice.
She's going to the party stag, if you catch my drift, white heart, and she's playing it single. But yeah, like I said, it was a great episode. I loved her little running off, and Christian Cole. Yeah, he went after her, and I like that they had a heart to heart. Like, it's just, again, I'm really loving the bonding that these characters are having. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Cole is going to be the one she truly falls in love with later. I don't know. That's my gut feeling of like, because he's definitely not of big stature. He is, the head of the Kingsguard and stuff, so it's not like a royal bloodline or like a big house that, Viserys wants to kind of have her marry into, just to be like, it's better you do that just politically and, stability wise, because if we just got to stop causing problems for this. And I forgot to really mention, well, I guess we'll get into it in a minute, but overall, very solid episode. And I like that Alicent, she's trying to find her place within that family, like trying to be a mom, a wife, but also still trying to be a friend of, Rhaenyra. Like she does support her. She's like, no, I think she'd be great as queen. But her dad's just like, no, you want your son to be king. And she's torn apart by that because she wants the best for her son, but also kind of like her stepdaughter, she wants her to succeed as well. It's just a very complicated story, but I'm digging it so far. Like, I know you said it was very redundant, but I think this episode was like, it was just an extension of the last one. So I was digging it all.
I mean, yeah, I did like, the furthering of her character, and we've seen that she is like at an impasse within herself, like because it seems like she doesn't make decisions for herself, really, like at all. Like, unfortunately, like her dad is the one that's pushing her to do all these things, and because I guess she feels like some sort of obligation to him, and and within her role in the society that she has to do these things. And we see it like eat her up in the last couple of episodes, where you see her like picking at her fingernails, like she has like this like a little bit like of anxiety type of thing. So with her being like I said, in this weird relationship where like she's like her best friend's like stepmom, and like she's potentially like mothering the potential like claim person that wants to claim the throne. It's like it puts her in a really like tricky situation, and then it's a position I don't envy at all for Alicent, because she does seem like a really good person, but she's being forced into doing these things, and because she doesn't feel like she has a voice, she doesn't object to them, so she just ends up doing going through with him, and that's putting her relationships to the test.
She is a good, like, her character's journey is almost like a symbol of like the old way, like kind of the old ways that the kingdom is still going by. That she's service to these men, that like you said, she can't make decisions for herself, and even though she wants to, she's torn between, like, Rhaenyra Rhaenyra is trying to be the future and trying to be like, it doesn't matter. I want to be queen and I want to rule my way, not just. But everybody's still saying, no, you think she'll be queen? Like, everyone's gonna lose their shit. And she's torn by, I like that exchange with her dad when he said that. She's really torn by that. She's like, yeah, you're right, but I don't want that to happen. So I think that's gonna play at a really good, like, conflict later in the show when they're adults, like just kind of button heads with each other.
And I like her advice to Viserys when he's molding the decision of whether to send aid to Daemon. She tells him, all right, like, is like, do you really want your brother to go out there and fail? Like, is that what's best for the country, basically? And he has to put it, like, his sort of like spite aside, like him and his brother obviously did not end on good terms, but she's like, yo, like, he's your brother, like, you gotta help him out, like, family's family. So I did like that was her advice to him. Like, she wasn't like trying to dick anybody over, because she's like power hungry or anything. She's like, no, she's a good shoulder to lean on, and again she's a really good person at heart, just put into really bad circumstances, and it's unfortunate for her.
I think without her and Lord Strong, Viserys would really be diving down the deep end of just madness, like kind of like how he was, like, just drinking like crazy, becoming very suspicious of everybody. But it's also like, dude, I hate to say it, you are getting weak, man. You're getting old. I like the simple additions to the makeup. Like, even though the Targaryens have white hair, I did like that they added more white to, like, his eyebrows, his beard. Simple little makeup stuff that's like, okay, it definitely shows that he's aging and he's kind of dwindling in strength.
Yeah, and I would say that goes for all the characters so far. Like, I remember in the first episode, I saw Rhaenyra as a little girl. Her and Alicent as like young girls, and now they seem like they're aging up a little bit. I think it's something to do with like the costumes and like something with the makeup and stuff. And like you said, it's done very subtly, but it conveys the fact that there's been some time passage here, and I think they're doing a really good job in the costuming and the makeup of it all. Like, yeah, they're doing fantastic work here.
Yeah, and then just the action. I think this is definitely some of the best of the season so far. Ever since, like, the first one, second one didn't. The last episode didn't really have anything, to be honest. It's just some dragons flying around, which is still cool to me. But I like the beginning shot where the crab feeder is just, you think he's on the run from Syraxes and Daemon's taunting him. It's like, dude, he's got you set up quick. And later in the show, we find out that, oh, well, Daemon's pushing his army too hard. He's losing support. Like, they may not survive this. Like, if there is a time to reclaim the stepping stones and, win this war, it's now. So I like when he did do it. I like that, Corlys's family, like his brother and his son, they're all just kind of trying to figure out what to do here. I like that planning thing, because we see that the son who wants to marry Rhaenyra, he's very headstrong, kind of like her. He's like, we should fight, he's devising the plan, kind of like something Rhaenyra would do. But the uncle is just like, no, he's driving us, like, into the ground. We got to leave, or, potentially trying to start a mutiny. And
he was the other dragon rider, right?
I was confused by that, but
yeah.
But the son, Corlys's son, he was another dragon rider. Like, my brother and I were like, nah, that's got to be the son. I was like, yeah, that's the only person that makes sense, because it wouldn't make sense to bring another random ass person, when there was no talks of it. So yeah, I think he's a dragon rider.
That kind of got a little confusing within the battle when, like, he's riding the dragon. For a split second there, I thought he was riding Caraxes, and while Daemon was on the ground, but no, I was like, no, that's a different color dragon. And then we definitely see Caraxes, like, flying off on his own. So I was like, okay, he's another dragon rider. I wish they would have made that a little bit more clear.
Yeah, I think that it would have been nice to know that the that the other son was, like the Corlys' son was a dragon rider too. That would have made a little bit more sense. But I thought his dragon was pretty neat. It was almost like a white gray, not like White Walker white, but like a very, very much like, you know, Targaryen and Varys' hair, you know, like white and gray. So I thought that was really cool. Man, Daemon was fucking shit up in the end. That was so cool to see him. But he's also like, he's been brought to the breaking point of, my brother has to send help. Fuck this. I'm gonna finish this now. And it was such a great fight scene. Very well done. Matt Smith is, yeah, he's definitely showing he can be an action actor, which I'm really digging for him. And dude, when he just comes out with a crab feeder's torso, I was like, oh, that was quick, and that's nasty, you know, just gross, because you see his intestines like falling out and stuff. But again, like that was part of the symbolism. I was thinking, like, you know, Rhaenyra saw the White Hart, so she knows she definitely is deserving and right of the throne. And Daemon proved himself at the Battle of the Stepping Stones. Like, I can be king, and I can do this too. So again, yeah, like this episode definitely solidified it. So I do agree with you. I don't think they need another episode of like each character trying to prove themselves. Now let's start getting into the whole conflicting stuff. You know, let's start seeing them go at it a little bit. So I do agree with you on that part. Like after this point, it's like, it's just why we're just beating a dead horse.
Yeah, like if the next episode were to be sort of the same thing, it'd be like, okay, like get on with it already. But yeah, like Daemon's charge was really cool. Like you said, fueled by the fact that he doesn't want to feel like he has to rely on his family. He's trying to set off and do his own thing, and this is like his biggest push yet. You know, him and Corlys trying to make it out for themselves without the help of others, just to prove to everyone that, you know, they are capable and they don't need anyone. Like they're strong on their own, and they can do this thing that hasn't been done before, and taking back of the stepstones. So that was really cool. Although I will say I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed in the action sequence here too. I did like the Daemon's charge, you know, him running into the battle and soloing a bunch of people. Like, that was really cool. But I think just the overall way that they shot it was a little bit disappointing to me, in that it was sort of like smeared in like the fog of like war, basically. And just the way that the audio was like muted and felt like very the muted for the most part, and like it just didn't feel like it had any punch to it whatsoever. Like the action sequences just felt dull to me, and that was very unfortunate, because, you know, previous battle sequences in Game of Thrones, like they're very crunchy, they're very like visceral, and we do get a little bit of that. And at once, you know, Caraxes and the other dragons start carpet bombing everybody, like we get the sound and the music like kicking in, and that's when it really went into high gear. But everything else, it just felt sort of like, I don't know, it really had no punch to it for me, at least. Like, it just felt, again, it just really had to do with the audio mixing in this one, where everything was just sort of, yeah, it just felt like I was hearing it from if I was covering my speaker with my hand, and like that was the way I was listening to the action sequences. Like, it felt like it had no grit to it, and that was unfortunate. And I gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed in how the whole crab feeder thing just sort of resolved, like off screen, basically. It was sort of disappointing that we didn't get to see the confrontation between him and Daemon. I would have liked to at least have, if not an action sequence, like a sequence of them two interacting, because all we've had so far is just a crab feeder just sort of voguing for the camera and just doing like very bad things, and then just like standing there and just doing little head tilts, like, okay, you go, okay, you go. So I was like, man, when he walked out of, you know, with his torso, although that's a really cool image, I was just like, he just kind of sort of got Night King'd, you know, where it's like there was a little bit of build-up, and there was a disappointing end to him. So yeah, overall, that's why I guess this whole episode was a little bit disappointing to me. Not that it was bad at all. A lot of the stuff that happened here was cool, but it just felt like, again, the storylines didn't really have any punch to them, and the action sequence for me didn't have punch to them either. So that's just kind of like how I felt, to be honest.
That's fair. This is essentially like almost like a filler episode, is like how you're feeling. Like, it's just kind of there to just, you know, it's just here. It didn't really have a lot of effect on you, essentially.
And it is unfortunate because I was really looking forward to this episode, after the way things ended last season. Like, okay, we're going to get a confrontation with Daemon and Corlys with the crab feeder, and then we're going to get, like, sort of the fallout of Viserys' decision. And all of it just kind of, like, felt like just, like, a little bit like a wet dud to me. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me that's feeling that, but yeah, that's kind of how I walked away from this episode, unfortunately.
Well, that's why I was kind of like complaining about like the time jump and stuff. Like not just necessarily with the plot, but like it does feel like things are moving a little too quickly. Like the battle, like the crab feeder thing, I do agree with you on. I kind of wish we got to see a little bit more of him, or just maybe like a brief snippet of Daemon just kind of dominating him. I don't know. Just I felt like there could have been a little bit, that battle could have been extended a little bit more. But again, hopefully, the show can still pick itself up. Like I said, I still enjoyed it, but I do see your points. They're very fair critiques, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with you on that. That it's it just didn't have enough zest to this one, especially after the way the last two ended. So, but anything else pop out at you, Burn, or do we cover everything?
No, I mean, just yeah, I'm excited. I'm still again, this is still a very great show. Like, this is awesome stuff that we're getting here. So by no means is my like underwhelming nature of this episode how it hit me. I'm not like completely like discarding the show at all whatsoever. No, like I'm very much hooked into the story and these characters. So how things end here, I am still very excited. I want to see what Daemon, now that him and Corlys have taking over the Stepstones, like what is their next power move, and then now with Rhaenyra, like who is she gonna choose as her husband and everything, and how are things gonna wrap up with Viserys' storyline. So I'm very intrigued of how like things are gonna play out, because yeah, like although this was a little bit filler, the storylines are still very exciting to me.
Yeah, and that's very fair, dude. But everybody else, what did you guys think of this episode? Did it fall flat for you, kind of like it did with Burn? Are you guys still in love with this show? Like, I know we are, so we're still looking forward to next week. So let us know in the comments. And we got more, again, now that Rings of Power is out, we definitely got more reviews coming for that. She-Hulk is still going strong for at least another month or two. So yeah, stay tuned, guys, for more content coming. We have some movies are going to start trickling in now, so also keep an eye on that. And I hope you all was able to go to Cinema Day. When we went, the movie theater was ridiculous, so I hope you guys got to have a good experience with that. But until next time, guys, stay bodacious and keep on Rant for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and make sure to not sit on any sharp things. You don't want to lose your fingers, and don't marry your best friends, your daughter's best friends. Just don't do that. Just stay away from all that. But yeah, just see y'all on the next one then.